Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we have got a 100% rated puzzle for you. It's called Where's the Crusts? And it's by the American math teacher RockyRoer. And apparently this is just brilliant. I've read the rules; they're quite scary. They reminded me a little bit of the incredible puzzle by Jay Dyer that I did a couple of days ago. But anyway, I'll read you the rules of this one in a moment or two, and we'll see what RockyRoer's got in store for us. But it is busy around the channel at the moment. As those of you who follow us on Twitter will know, we have, we're going to be releasing tomorrow Matt Boyak's video on how to solve Ancient Wall, which is the final puzzle of the Christmas present that we gave our patrons over on Patreon, which was Vistamafel Sudoku Hunt, an incredible thing. I'm just going to say that this odd thing is a bit, I want to move that a bit, no, that way. I don't like the fact it's so close to the edge. It's making me feel uncomfortable. There we go. Yeah, so tomorrow morning on the channel, check out Matt Boyak's video, but make sure you have a go at Ancient Wall before you watch the video. And the link to play Ancient Wall is on our Twitter right now, so check that out. Also, we're going to have another bonus video in the coming days as well. I received this morning Nicholas is setting video on how they set the puzzle Chaotic Equality, which you may, I hope you have checked out that puzzle. If you haven't, it's incredible. It took me a very long time to solve it, but it's an absolutely extraordinary construction. And Nicholas's video is brilliant. It really is. It sort of goes through a lot of ideas about how to set good Sudoku, and how to set good variance Sudoku, and how to approach the subject. So, I learned stuff from watching it, and I'm sure many of you will too. So that'll be out soon as well. What else can I tell you? I've got some birthdays to do today. David, it's your birthday, and I know this because your partner Andrea wrote to us, and in fact, Andrea wrote to us yesterday morning, and had I seen the email in time, I could have read out your birthday. Your birthday was yesterday, wasn't it? It was yesterday, and I messed that up. David, I'm sorry about that. But a different David is 41 today. I think over in France. I might be wrong. Oh no, I think I am right about that. And David asked, or maybe it should be David, I'm not sure. David asked whether I could read out a plea to all of the Sudoku/cryptic crossword setters out there. I'm not sure how many people there are who overlap or fall into both of those buckets. But David is hoping to see a Sudoku puzzle, where at the end of the puzzle you shade all the ones and nines in black to create a crossword grid that you then have to solve, as a cryptic crossword grid that you then have to solve, which is quite a cool idea. Anyway, so if anyone fancies creating that for David or David's birthday, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. Then Rebecca, you've turned 21 today, and I know this because your mum Sarah wrote to us, and I think I'm delighted actually with you, Rebecca, because you have been trying to get everybody you know into Cracking the Cryptic, including your boyfriend Alex, up there at York University. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that, and I understand that your mum Sarah is going to be ensuring that you do get chocolate cake today. I don't know how she's going to do that, but lucky you. And then finally, Sahil in Virginia, from your friends Tom and Ryan. And apparently, Sahil, I think you and Tom bonded at a party where you were both slightly drunk and discovered that you liked watching a strange man solving Sudoku puzzles on this channel. Well, I'm guessing you saw Mark then. I don't think I'm a strange man, am I? No comments along those lines. Then finally, people who have solved Glum Hippo's Hunt. I started to read out the names of successful solvers yesterday. I will continue that today. These are in the order we've received them. So these are speedy solvers, all of them. Very well done to James Coe, Jim Davis, David Berardo, Jeff Frank, Stuart Tierney, Tom Walker, Matthias Holter, Brett Gator, John Gemmell, 333E race. Now that's the first time I think I've ever managed to say or correctly pronounce 333E race's pseudonym. Megan Swanson, Ed Caird, Doran Teverovsky, I think, Ned Bartlett, Mew Rocks, Cheswick, Karamveer Kumar, and John Rice. Brilliant solving, one and all. You're in the running to get the plushy hippo. So very well done indeed. Now let's have a look at what RockyRoer has got in store for us. Now, I did not say Alexa, I just didn't. She likes to join the videos. Anyway, these are the rules for Where's the Crusts by RockyRoer. Normal Sudoku rules apply. In each row, column and 3x3 box are 2 crusts in inverted commas. All 9 ones are crusts, as well as 9 other cells, which could be any digit. Right. Okay. The clues outside the grid give the sum of the digits between the 2 crust cells in that row or column. So let's stop there, because in normal Sandwich Sudoku, the rules outside the grid, let's look at this 15 clue. In normal Sandwich Sudoku, the numbers outside the grid would give the numbers sandwiched between the 1 and the 9 in that column. So in this case, this could be a 7-8 pair. In this puzzle, if I understand correctly how it works, there's a 1 somewhere in this row. Let's put it there. And then there's another crust somewhere in the row. Let's put it there. But this can be any digit. We have to work out what digit it is. Let's make it 5. And then those 3 cells would have to add up to 15, is I think how it works. The capsules contain the coordinates of each of the 9 crust cells that are not ones. No 2 capsules refer to the same crust cell. For example, thank goodness, if row 9, column 1 and 2 contains 4 and 5, then that means that row 4, column 5 is a crust cell that isn't a 1. So row 4, column 5, that cell would be a crust. Okay, and that would presumably be relevant both for the 15 clue and the odd clue in column 5. That's absolutely weird. Do have a go. It's a 100% rated puzzle, 3 stars out of 5 difficulty, so do we think that's approachable? Probably not, but it might be doable. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. My brain is shouting at me that there's something going on in row 2 here with this 42 clue. Yes, alright, I can do something with this because of the secret. Now the secret is something I tell my favourite people, and of course that includes you if you're still with me watching the video now. So I'm going to tell you the secret, but don't tell anybody else. The secret is that this row of the Sudoku sums to 45. And that's because every row, column and box of a Sudoku contains digits that sum to 45, because that's what the numbers 1 to 9 add up to. So if this adds up to 45, but I have to include 42's worth of digits inside a sandwich, then, or inside some crusts, I think what we're being told is that the crusts are 1 and 2 in this row, and then the rest of this row, which I'll make green to indicate non-crustliness, can add up to 42. It's simply the only way we could make 7 digits in the middle of a sandwich add up to 42, is to leave the 1 and the 2 out and put every other high digit in. So, what is that doing, though, in terms of this funny rule? I haven't got a clue. Okay, one of these is a 1. Oh, actually, I'm just going to mention something else that I thought of. I mentioned the J. Dyer puzzle when I was doing the introduction, and that's because it did occur to me that each of these capsules is pointing at a different crust. But because there's only one crust, there isn't a 1 in every row, isn't it the case that the first digits here effectively form an extra region of the Sudoku? Because none of these they're called capsules in this, not pills. None of these pills points to the same crust. So they must point to a set of 9 crusts in different rows and different columns. So I think those digits have to be a set of the digits 1 to 9, and these digits have to be a set of the digits 1 to 9. Now, I mention that, but unlike with J. Dyer's puzzle, where that was incredibly useful, here it's much less clear to me how we're going to be able to use that, because in J's puzzle, she put the capsules basically all in one column. And so we could do some logic. Here, knowing these digits all have to be different, I don't know what we're meant to do with that. Okay, but right, presumably one of these capsules has to contain the coordinates either for this cell or for this cell, depending on which one of these is not the 1. So whichever one of these is 2, so if it was this one, then one of the capsules, which couldn't be this one, if that was a 2, because this capsule would have a 1 in it, so it would be pointing at the crust cell in row 1. So if this is 2, this is pointing at the crust cell in row 1. And if this is 1, that's broken. Right, okay, that's straightforward, isn't it? That's straightforward. I just didn't think about that at all, but it is straightforward. Okay, so if this is 1, the world becomes a very complicated, an even more complicated place, because this is now impossible, I think. Because this 2, this is the only 2 that's going to appear in these 9 cells, because we need all of the other capsules to point to different rows in order to index, if you like, their crust. So this cell needs to point to itself. It is the crust in row 2, so that makes that cell have to be a 1, and now we've broken the puzzle. We've got 2 1s in row 2 of the grid. So actually we get the order. We get a 1 here, we get a 2 here, we get, what do we get? We get this clue is pointing to a crust that appears here. Ah, no, let's use the 16 clue now, because the 16 clue, well, the minimum I could make, or the closest I could put the 1 to this 16 is here. That might be possible. I'm not sure, but that would then make this a 7-9 pair. But these 2 clearly can't be crusts, because we can't. If we made that a 1, this would have to be a 16 to fulfill the clue, and that's not going to work. So these 2 cells are definitely green. This is definitely green. The furthest away I could put the 1, probably 4 cells works, does it? If we put 1 here, we get 3, 4. 3, 4, 5 and 6 is too many, actually. 3, 4, 5 is 12, and then 6 is 18, and that's more than 16. So I can't actually, so the 1 has to be one of those 2 cells, which means all of these cells have got to be green. Now what I was just wanting to look at there is, if this is a 1, then we know that this capsule is pointing at the crust in this column because of this 1 here. But okay, but we literally know nothing about that, right? So we can't use that, I don't think. So it could be the 35 clue. 35. Well, that is the maximum sandwich total. If we were doing 9 and 1 as the... So if 9 and 1 were the crusts in this column, it would have to go 9 here and 1 here, wouldn't it? Oh, but that's fine, because this isn't in this capsule, so that could be the 1. Okay, 35 is quite a lot of numbers, even if we don't use 9 as a crust. So, I mean, yes, okay. 35, the minimum number of digits I can make add up to 35 in Sudoku terms is going to be 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. They add up to 35. So that means that... I'm wondering if that means I have to have a crust in here. I think it does. If I don't have a crust in either of those cells, this would be the earliest crust in column 2, and then I couldn't fit 39 into those 4 cells. So, right, okay. So that's it's a tiny deduction, but I'm going to take it, because I now know one of those is a crust, and that's the second. In fact, that's the none 1 crust as well, I've just noticed. Hang on. So I want to think about that cell, but I'm just conscious that I need to greenify some things here, don't I? If that's the crust, then all of those cells are definitely green. So these are definitely green. There's definitely... Right, and the 1 in this column, because the 1 is not the crust up there, the 1 is down here, which means there's a 1 over here. Now, what's this saying, though? If that... I just want to think about whether this can be a crust. If that is a crust and this is not a crust, what exactly am I saying about this? Because this pill can't point... That's beautiful. That is really, really clever. It's so strange. But because we worked out that this capsule is pointing at the none 1 crust in this column, if we were to put the none 1 crust, in that row, if we were to put the none 1 crust in row 1, column 2, here, well, that cell is a 2, which it can't be. So that cannot be the none 1 crust in row... Well, it cannot be the none 1 crust in row 1, and therefore it can't be the none 1 crust in box 1. And therefore, the none 1 crust in box 1 is, in fact, here. And therefore, I haven't got the therefore yet. My brain is hopefully going to... No, I can do it. I can do it. So now that cell's a 1, because we said that the 35 sandwich must be at least 5 cells. So in fact, we can green those. Those are not 1. That's going to matter over here. Oh, this is really clever. This is really clever. So in fact, we know what those digits are, because it's the only way we can achieve 35. So those squares are 2, 3, and 4. That's not 2. This... Oh, yes. This is brilliant. Oh my God. This is brilliant. What's this number? If that was a 3, this is pointing at that cell, and there would be a 3rd crust in this thing. And I think it said, and now I'm questioning myself, didn't it say there was only... Yes, it did. I suddenly thought, did the instructions say that each row and column had to contain 2 crusts, which might have meant that you could have had 3 crusts in a box, but you can't. It does say in each row, column, and box are 2 crusts. So there is not a second crust. in that box, which does mean that this square has to be a 4 because it has to point outside box 1, which means that this square is a crust, and it's a non-1 crust. So this digit is I mean, Mark would be delighted with me for that. I don't have a good way of marking this as a non-1 crust. Maybe I should give it a different colour rather than being frivolous with my pencil marks. I'm going to leave that in for a moment. I'm going to also get rid of those. So this is a 2-3 pair. Oh, that's weird now, and I don't know the order, do I? It doesn't really matter for the clue what the order is. Yeah, in effect, what we're saying in column 2 is that there are 10's worth of cells that are not included in the sandwich. So once we know what the sandwich contents are, we know we're looking at the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4, but the actual order of the crust, you know, whether that's a 3 crust or a 2 crust doesn't actually affect this. So, okay. Oh, right, I know what I'm going to do now. Right, so the 1 here, I think, is saying that the non-1 crust in column 1, which is down here somewhere, is indexed by this capsule. So if this was a 1, that would be pointing at the same crust in that column, and we know that each capsule only points at 1 crust. So that is not a 1, which means this is a 1, which means this is red, that is green. And we've got a 16 sum. That might well... No, it doesn't. I thought it might have to have a 3 in it, but it doesn't. 4, 5, 7 works, doesn't it? Okay, alright, so that's not a 1. So, alright, so this is weird now. So what we've got to do now, or one thing we can think about now, although actually it's not going to do us any good, is that we can't put 1 in any of these positions, because we'd repeat 1 in our extra column region if we do that. Now I suppose the corollary of that, or the other point we can make, is we can't put 4 into any of these positions either, because we have already identified the non-1 crust in column 4 as being here. Alright, let's use the 10 clue then. So the 10 clue is telling us that, or 10 in Sudoku terms is at least a 2-digit sum, so those two have to be green. And the 1 is therefore in one of, so the 1 is in one of these cells, which is the second crust in box 3, so those cells are definitely green. Yeah, and that's quite clever as well, actually. We can do this, because if the 1 was here, we'd have a 3-cell sandwich summing to 10 that didn't use a 1. Well, I know that that's got to be 2, 3, 5, which it would break that square. So that's not going to work. We've got to put the 1, therefore, here. This square is now red. That square is now green. This domino adds up to 10. And that domino is pointing at a crust. Now, can we? I mean, literally, I think this still can be. Is it really true that that can be anything? Well, here's a tiny point. Look, that cannot be. This is not a 2-8 pair, because if it was a 2-8 pair, either that cell would be being indexed row 2 column 8, or that cell row 8 column 2, both of which are green and therefore couldn't be num1 crusts. And this can't be 1 9. So this is either 3 7 or 4 6. And it's not 3, actually it's not 3 7, that's going to be there. Yeah, okay. So that I see something strange about this domino. And that's that whatever it is, the none1 crust that is indexing is going to be on the positive diagonal. Because if that's 3 7 or 7 3, it's one of those two squares. If it's 4 6 or 6 4, it's one of those two squares. So the actual position that this domino tells us is a crust is one of these positions here. But it's okay, it's not this one, because that's row 9 column 1 and that's impossible. So it's either row 7 column 3. Yeah, we can get rid of 3 from here, we can get rid of 7 from here. It's row 7 column 3, row 6 column 4, or row 4 column 6. Yes. This is good. Well, it's not that one, is it? Because if we were saying that there was a none1 crust, that would be a second none1 crust in this column. Of course, the simple way to see it is exactly what I said before, which is that can't be a 4. So that can't be a 6. So now we've either got row 7 column 3 or row 4 column 6. I don't know how we tell which of those is actually going to be correct. And rather worryingly, what on earth do we look at next? Oh, I know what we could look at. We could look at the 1. All right, I'm going to change tack. I was fishing around the grid there thinking, well, if I don't work out what this is, where can I look? Well, I can look at this. In fact, this is helpful because I can exactly pinpoint the num1 crust in this column, because you can't have a 3-cell sequence adding up to 8 if you can't use a 1 in it. So it's a 2-cell sequence adding up to 8, and in fact we can see it's 3 5. This is a nut. Right, look. All of those now turn green. No, oh bobbins! If I'd done this the other way round, we would have understood the world. Because remember what we said about this diagonal, and this. Well, we'd worked this that either this was 4 6 here, or it was 7 3 there. Well, it's not there now, because this is a none1 crust. And we can't have another none1 crust in the same row as it. So that's 7, that's 3, that's a none1 crust. That's the second crust in that column, so all of those go in, greenlinesses. We've got a 1 in one of those, so that's a green cell now. So there. Oh, I see. Okay, so there's a none1 crust in one of those two because it can't be here, which means that cell's green effectively. One of these two, which means that digit is 5 or 6, I think. Now, it can be there, can't it? Because all that's saying is that had there been a clue here, it would have been a very large clue. So, right, let me just take stock. I think it's going to be incredibly easy in this puzzle to not appreciate, you know, to not appreciate nuances of what's. Yeah, okay. What's that? Well, that cannot be 3, because if it's 3, it's got to it's indexing into the none1 crust in row 3, which is that cell, which would make that a 3 2, which it can't be. So that's a 5. That's a 3. This is now indexing the none1 crust here. So that digit has to correspond to one of those 4 cells, and there aren't that many. There are exactly 4 of those. 1, 3, no, 5 of them. What? What's going on with my brain? What is going on with my brain? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, okay. Well, that is useful. That's 4 or 6 then by Sudoku. So one of these 2 squares is a none 1 crust. Oh, that's it. No, it's simpler than that. That can't be a none 1 crust because it's already got a none 1 crust in its column. So that is a none 1 crust. That is a 6. That is a none 1 crust. That is now not a none 1 crust. So that's a none 1 crust. So there is an enormous sandwich clue in this row. That's green. Row 5, column 6. This is now row 6, column 1, isn't it? Because it's highlighting this one. Is it... what it might be worth doing is trying to record which of our none 1 crusts we have actually achieved indexing for. So this one has been achieved. Let's purplify it. That one's been achieved by this. This one is row 3, column 2, which, hello Maverick, Maverick's flying past. Which is actually very interesting. This one is row 3, column 2. Where am I going to put that? Now, at first blush, I thought I had 2 possible pills or capsules that I could put my 3, 2 in. But I don't think I have, because that 2 is very cool. That gets rid of those 2 as being a 3, then a 2, which leaves these 2. But if I put 3, 2 in there, that's a none 1 crust. So how do I make 15? If this is 3, 2, the best I can do in terms of this none 1 crust to try and achieve the 15 is to put the 1 there, but that makes this square have to be a 10, and that won't work. So I think this is a 3, 2. I think that's the only thing that can be a 3, 2. Now that's great. Well, it might... Well, actually, it is good. It is good. It means we can purplify this, but not only that, there's a 3 here. So that means we can do Sudoku and actually get this digit. Now, we've got a 2 in one of those squares by Sudoku. 7. We've got a 7 in one of these squares by Sudoku. This square is not a 2 or a 3, so this is now been reduced. It's now got a panoply of digits that is slightly less extensive than it once was. Okay, and I want to carry on going through my none 1 crusts to see what is indexed. Row 5, column 6 is indexed. This one is row 4, column 7. So that's not going in that one or that one. Oh, this is so beautiful. This is just... It just falls out. I mean, the current expression for this in Sudoku circles is smooth. And this is smooth. It's sort of delightful. You start to think about, okay, where does this get indexed? You realise it's not here. So it's got to be in one of these 2 pills. And that means one of those 2 squares is a 7. One of those 2 squares is a 4. But the 7 tells us where the 7 goes. Look, in box number 3, which means I've got a 7 in one of 2 places in box 1. I've now got a 4 in one of 2 places in box 3, which, oh no, because I don't know which of these is the 4, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's got to be an 8 or a 9. Okay, so this one is not... Well, this one's been quasi-achieved. I know it's one of these, but I don't know which one. That one is achieved, because that's that one, isn't it? So... Okay, so there's a none1 crust in one of those. That's not a none1 crust, but it could be a 1, presumably. It probably is a 1. 1 is getting quite restricted down here. Can I put 1 there? No. This is lovely. It's really lovely. Because, okay, that can't be a 1, because that would be indexing that none1 crust, and that's already been indexed here. So we get the 1, which means there's a 1 in one of these, which is not there, because last time I checked, 0 was not an odd number. And if we make that 1, and that's the none1 crust, that would have a sandwich of 0. So one of these is the 1. This is red, obviously. Let's redify that. One of these is the 1. Oh, look. Okay, so this column has got a 0 sandwich total as well, because one of those two squares has to be the none1 crust. And it's not that one, because we've already got a none1 crust in this row. Right, so that's a none1 crust, which is in row 9, column 8. That's got to be green. Right, so we need something, that could be it, that indexes row 9, column 8. Oh, I think everything can be this. So this cell needs indexing. That could be 9, 8, probably. I don't see why that one couldn't. And I think both of those could, I'm afraid. Alright, so all of these turn green. Oh, Simon. Yeah, okay, sorry, look. In this box, the none1 crust is actually placeable by Sudoku on none1 crusts. It's a 3 in row 8, column 5, which can be that one again. Oh, that's annoying. I think there's loads of options all of a sudden. That could be 8, 5. That could be 8, 5. I think both of those could be 8, 5. I think there might be a reason that I'm not seeing why one of those would be ruled out, but right, okay. Let's use this one. This is an odd total, so we can't have a 0 sandwich again. So this is 1, which means all of those squares are now green. This is a red digit. That gives me it gives me an unuseful total. There's no total given for column 6. We can't use that. We can green those digits in though. There's now a 1-2 pair, look. A 1-2 pair in row 3 by Sudoku, because the 1 has to be in one of those two. And I know that's a none1 crust. So I know that that is not a 1, don't I? Because if that was a 1, I'd have to put 15 into that cell, so that's not going to work. If that's the 1, then I'm making this a 1. If that's a 1, those two have to add up to 15. But that's not so difficult when you haven't got to put 9 in the sandwiches, because you could have either 6, 9 there or 7, 8, I think. Right. I think we're hitting a bit of a brick wall now. Not really sure. I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to look. Could it be Sudoku? Or perhaps I don't know actually. I'm not at all sure. How many 1s have we got? Oh, okay. We don't know is the short answer. There's definitely a 1 in one of those, but I don't have any clues for column 3. I don't know what this is. This is the one that's indexed by one of these, isn't it? So that's sort of index. What about that? Is that indexed? Row 2, column 8. I think we've got this one. I just haven't put it in. Where is row 2, column 8? Come in, row 2, column 8. Your time is up. Okay. I haven't put row 2, column 8 in, I don't think. So which pill can contain row 2, column 8? Not this one. So it's it's one of these 3, isn't it? Now, is there a reason? Or can I lock it out of here? Because if I can lock it out of here, I'm going to have a weird 2847 sort of thing going on over there. If that's 28, there's no 1 in there, is there? So this is the 1, and this has to be a 5 to make the 15 work. And I'm almost going to say that looks likely. Okay. Okay. Right, so what else can I do here? I've got row 9, column 8, which I suspect is this one. I've got row 2, column 9. Or maybe I need to make a little table of these coordinates that I've not used. Actually, I might put them in the bottom of the grid. So I need a 2, 9. I need a 4, 7, but we've sort of got that one already. I need a 9, 8. Ah, that's the wrong way round. Well, I don't know how to do that. I need a 9 there and then an 8 in the middle. I need a 9, 8 for this one. I need an 8, 5, don't I? So that's going to be a funny one as well. An 8, 5. And is that the 4 pills I've not got? I suspect so. This one? So this one here has to be either the 9, 8 or the 8, 5, doesn't it? So that cannot be 5, 6 or 7. And that digit has to be 5 or 8 because it's got to correspond to the sort of column digit that we've got in here. So this is 5 or 8. This is 8 or 9. Which almost feels useful. Okay. What about... So we know this one is not 4, 7. So this digit is either 2, 8 or 9. And this digit is either 9, 8 or 5. So are there... okay, maybe there are options here that we can rule out regarding... Yeah, because there's never a 1. Have I got this right? Hang on, I'm sorry about this. I just want to take a quick audit on this. Because this is, if I've missed an option down here, this logic is total and utter nonsense. I think it isn't. I think it is correct. I've got 1, 2, 3. And that one. Yeah, I have got 4 left. I've got 4 none 1 crusts left to place, and I've only got 4 pills to put them in. So the fact that I've labelled the options here, I think it's valid now to say that this is not the 1 in this row, because that cannot be a 1 apparently. I could have worked that out, couldn't I? This can't be a 1 because I've already got a 1 in the columns. So this is the 1 in the row, which means that's the red digit. Now that's green. These 2 squares now. So if this is 2, 9, which is that one, we get 2, 9, 4. So that one option is that this is a 4. If we've got 9, we can't have 9, 8 there. That cannot be 9, 8 because that adds up to 17, and that would have to be a -2. So that's it. That's nice. Now, if that's 8, 5, it doesn't work because that's a 2. That's it. We've done it. So this is 2, 9 with 4. which is great. So I can delete this one as an option now, because this is now purplified. This is now, oh look, the 2 is done. So we do the 2, we do the 1. The 1 is definitely a red digit. That means that both of those turn green. This is now the last red digit, I think, in the puzzle. But, it is a 1, because we know that this is the none 1 digit. And that's been referenced already. So, what does all this mean? It means that's not a 9. Come on, it must 4. Okay, where does 4 go in that box? The answer is in the most open square that we have, which means that's a 4. This is an 8-9 pair in row 1. So these two squares are now 5 and 6. We've got 7, 8, 9 to place. Okay, so that's an 8 or a 9. 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 8, 9. Ah, bobbins. We've got the 16 clue now, which has a 4 in it, haven't we? Which is very interesting. I'm just trying to see whether I can do something cool with that. I might be able to, because this domino here has to add up to 12 without being 4, 8. So it's either 5, 7. And if it was 5, that's the problem, isn't it? So if we look at our remaining options for this pill, we know that the right-hand square can be absolutely 5 or 7. It can't be 8 now, because if that was 8, that would be 4. So that is 5 or 7. I suppose that is useful, because that means it is 5, 7, 4. Because this digit cannot be a 3 or a 9. Let's check that. Why can that digit not be 3 or 9? That would suggest we've already put 9 in the column. Have we already put 3 in the column? Position. Yes. Right. So that is a 5, 7 pair. But it doesn't tell it. Well, it tells us that digit is either 8 or 4. It's 4 or 8. And of course, both apparently are still possible. Ah, but if that's 5, 7, what's that? That can't be 7. That's it. That's it. So this is not the 4, 7. This is not the 4, 7 pill. This is the only place the 4, 7 pill can live. 4, 7, 5 go into the grid. Whoops. I think I just deleted the wrong thing from this square. I can't. I'm just going to undo this and repeat. Correct the pencil marking. So we've got 4, 7 here. So that's that one. That's done. 4, 7 has been done, so that gets purplified. And we've got 9, 8. So this one is either, well, this is an 8 or a 9, and that's a 5 or an 8, and we can see what it is. It's got to be the 8. So that's 8, therefore that's 9. That gets purplified as a result. Now this has to be the 8, 5. And that might be all of our indexing finished, I think. So in theory, well, no, we've still got some sandwich clues to deal with, haven't we? Let's look at this column, though. We can do some Sudoku. 8, 9, 3, 6 at the bottom, which is... That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Very cool. Well, cool if you're like me. That's 2, 4, and 7. These squares are... Oh, that's a 2 by Sudoku. What's this one? Something. 3. Still not sure what's going on over there. So these squares are 6, 8, 9, which is apparently unresolved. We can get rid of 9 here. We can get rid of 8 here. We don't know about this one. This square is 6, 7, or 8 by Sudoku. It's not 6. Still doesn't get resolved. We've done the 8 clue. We haven't done the odd clue here. Oh, that's beautiful. What a beautiful... That's a beautiful thing. Look at this column. This is an odd sandwich clue in those 2 cells. Well, how do we make a domino add up to an odd number? we're going to need exactly one odd number in this domino. And we haven't got 1, 3, 7 or 9 available, and that cell can't be a 5, so we've got to put the 5 here. This is now even, and it's not 2 or 4, or it's 6 by the power of parity. Ah, this is sick. Now we've got stuff going on. 3, 4 and 7 to place. 4 in that row is now forced, which is great. That gets us 3, gets us 7. These have got to be a 5, 8 pair, which I think is probably resolved, but I can't see how. That's 6, that's 8 by Sudoku, 7 and 6 by Sudoku. Well, these cells feel like they're getting a bit more resolved, don't they? That's got to be a 9. And these can't be 8, so this is with this all resolved. 5, 7 goes into the grid. 2 comes out of here by Sudoku. Those squares are 2 and 3, which apparently isn't resolved. Bar humbug. Okay. Well, that was exciting for a moment or two. So what clues have we not used? Oh, this one is odd. It's going to be this. I think this is the only thing we haven't used. Let me just think about this. Oh, the other thing I've not done, of course, is to hide. Where does 4 go in this column? I was just thinking about Sudoku. I know it's not like me to do that, but there we go. Needs must. That's an 8. That's a 9. So that's a 9. So this becomes a 7, 8 pair, which is resolved. Great. 7 and 8 go into the grid. 5 and 6 at the top is resolved by Sudoku. How is this 2, 3 not resolved? Ah! Alright, what are those squares? They are 5 and 6, which is not resolved. Okay, so I think we are going to have to think about... So it's what's between these two cells, and that's odd. So this is even, and it's not 2 or 4 or 8, so it's 6. Okay, and that does, I see, that unwinds this sort of deadly pattern that was emerging down those columns. So that square now is an 8, I think. These squares have got to be 7 and 9. Which I think is probably resolved somehow. I can't see how immediately. That square's 2, 7 or 9, and it's not 7 or 9. So that's 2, that's 7, that's 4, that's 2, that's 7, that's 9. These two squares are 9 and 3. No, not 9. There's already a 9 in the row, Simon. 3 and 4. And there's a 4 here. So 4 goes here, 3 goes here, 3 goes there, 2 goes there. We need 8 and 9 to finish. So 9, 8. And I think we solved the puzzle. That was absolutely brilliant. Well, I now know, unsurprisingly, why that is what rated 100%. Is because it is just... I mean, well, let's just tick off the adjectives we could apply legitimately to this puzzle. Innovative, definitely. It's a completely new way to use Sandwich Sudoku rules. Has it got panache? Oh, yes, it has. It's got as much panache as Cyrano de Bergerac, because it, just even the start, the fact that you get this 1-2 pair and you can immediately see how it works, it's just lovely. And there were loads of moments like this, those having to be 4s and 7s. That was... it's just surprising and beautiful, and it does logic up here. The use of the odd clues to actually do things in this column to place this 5, that was lovely. The fact that there's a 7, 3 here, because you can work out it has to go on that diagonal somewhere. So what RockyRoer has done is really understood the implications of the twist on the rules that he's included in the puzzle, and then he's included all of these little logical fancy points for us to find during the solve. Absolutely wonderful. Loved it. I hope you did too. Let me know in the comments. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.